I didn't really feel like I wanted to live anymore, you know, and that's a very kind of real experience to go through, something that strips away, you know, all of the distractions and all of the things that we are dealing with.
Devon, well, first off, welcome back. I mean, 2012 was the last time you were at Slam Dunk, correct?
Yeah.
And I know we just briefly chatted, but how does it feel to be back? It's day 2. You smashed your set yesterday, another set today. How's it feeling?
Feels great. Just feels great to be back here. You know, I mean, it has been a long time, and to see a lot of new faces and to see fans that have probably been waiting patiently for quite some time. It's just nice to come here and be able to, you know, deliver a show, and we really look forward to just staying consistent with that because we have great fans over here. You know.
Yeah, they'll be looking forward to it, and obviously coming back, you know, you've got a new track, Split.
Yeah.
And it'd be great to sort of dive into the inspiration a little bit about that. And can we talk about how that has, you know, Icy Star's been going for quite a minute now. How has that sort of evolved with your journey as a band?
Like the music?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like as an artist, you know, it's our band. We never like to write the same record twice, you know. So there's always a constant evolution, and as an Icy Stars fan, you have to kind of expect that, you know. I think that you know, we look at our catalogs and we get really excited to continue to perfect our sound and continue to try to convey our message in different ways, you know. So I think this new record is really introducing some new characters and really just showcasing a lot of new ways that our band can make music, and I'm really excited for it. And I think along with some new sounds, I think people are going to hear some things that feel like you know, it's what they only get from us, you know. So we're really excited about it. We're really excited to put out this new record. It's been a long time, and we've been working on it for a long time, and yeah, it just feels overdue.
Yeah, 100%. I think what, as I was saying, you know, I grew up on Icy Stars. I remember 10,000 Feet was such a big part of my childhood growing up, and I think what's always been fantastic is that kind of challenging the genre with the electronic and the metalcore, and I think is that something you still try to do it? And I know you said being original and stuff. Is that something you're still pioneering and championing, I should say? Yeah,
I mean, we feel honored to even be considered one of the bands that pioneer the electronic hardcore sound, you know. And it's cool to be a band that if you follow a thread of something that feels relatively new, that you'll find us, you know, somewhere at the beginning. So we don't take that for granted, and I think we're excited to continue to champion and evolve that sound, but also try to continue to search for new undeveloped sounds, things that you know, haven't existed, or maybe they do exist and just haven't been fully executed. And I think that's like really what our band from the inception has always prided ourselves on, is trying to find something new. You know, and electronic hardcore at one point was new, and it was not fully embraced back in the beginning. You know, it was scary, and I think if you look at the evolution of music and all these subgenres that now exist, if you follow that thread, you'll find that's a very common story. You know, I think when a new sound comes in, it's scary, and I think a lot of people kind of they're scared of it, right? And then it gets embraced, and then it becomes something massive. And I think now there's so many bands that are really have taken it to a whole new level, and we're just so happy to have been a part of it, and to see so many bands be inspired by it is really an honor. And I think we'll never be the band that abandons our roots, you know, and I think we'll always showcase that on every record we do. But you'll always find a little something new, and I think that's what makes, I think, great art. So we're really excited about the new record. Yeah,
100%. And I think that's going to, like, again, pioneers of the genre, and I think when you're trying to craft, again, you're crafting something new at the end of the day. This has not been done before. How does that come into place? I know obviously there's influences externally, but you know, going into the recording studio, what goes through your mindset of
I think
blending elements like that?
There's you know, I feel like for me it's like being as destructive as you can be, you know, you can always control your chaos afterwards, but starting as chaotic as you can be, I think, is the best part of being an artist, you know, and the best part of writing music in general is, you know, whipping paint at a wall and seeing what sticks, and you know, and then messing with colors and continuing to be as destructive as you can be. I think that's what makes music feel so rock and roll, you know. And so for us, that's always been our process, you know. And we control the chaos a little later, you know, but we really let the chaos run for the inception of these songs. And every song we've ever done in our catalog, it really does start from a chaotic place. And I think there is where you're going to discover something new, when you don't have rules, you don't have walls, you don't have barriers, you know. So I think that's been a huge part of our process, but also to, you know, have your finger on the pulse and really understanding artists that are doing something really cool and innovative. You know, Enter Shikari was a huge influence for us growing up, and we really looked at them as someone who was pioneering this sound and doing it really well. And you know, I pretty much mention them in every interview when I talk about my influences, because I think that they were so chaotic. And I think that was, I felt like I was being seen when I was listening to their music. So I think just, you know, letting your influences shine, but also being chaotic so that you can find your own, you know, world. You're building your own world as an artist, you know. So
you're a craftsman. You're crafting and also curving out that space in the genre, as it were. From 2016 to Treehouse to now, you know, what are the things you've learned? You know, from your very first record to now, like, again, you learn, you constantly evolve, etc., etc. But what have been the sort of key takeaways from that to now?
Yeah, well, you said, I mean, you asked earlier, like, you know, are we, you know, are we pretty much paying homage to where we started? And I think understanding as an artist, like, the world that you have built, and some of the greatest artists that, and I think honestly all the greatest artists in music, the one thing that they all have in common is that when they put out new music, what you're really excited about when you put on that record is that you're entering their world. You're going to hear things that you only hear from them. You know what I mean? Whether it's a voice or music or tones, you know, guitar tones or whatever it might be, the iconic signature sounds that you only get from that artist. I think that's all a part of the process of world building. And, you know, I think for us, paying closer attention to the world that we are building and continuing to evolve it while also paying respect to, you know, the roots. It's all been a part of the journey between Treehouse and this record, and continuing to understand our world a bit more. Because although we are artists, you know, I think there's a part of it's a part of an artist's duty to be a fan of your band as well. I think only as a fan do you understand the world you're building. 100%. You know, so I think that's been a big part of this.
Yeah, and on that, you know, you've done your acoustic tour celebrating the 10th anniversary of 3D, and I think on that point, like, offering a new perspective on your music. First of all, what was the motivation behind that, and also how did that experience differ for you? You know, very different to your.
You mean going into this new record, or
the acoustic tour? You just did.
I'm sorry, the acoustic tours.
The acoustic, 3D.
The acoustic records have been like a passion project. You know, I grew up listening to like Dallas Green, and you know, and I feel like when you hear someone from the rock scene strip it down and do versions of their music, or new music, but you hear the voice you're familiar with, you hear it stripped down. I've always really loved that. I think it showcases a wider spectrum as a vocalist, and so I think the acoustic record was always something I wanted to do since the very beginning. You know, the very beginning of our band doing 3D, I always knew that I wanted to either do acoustic songs or figure out a way to introduce more bare bones material. So I think Phases and Treehouse Acoustic, like those two records, to me was just a really fun, low stress environment to just show how multi-dimensional our music is. And to be able to perform on those tours as well was a really fun way to just showcase, like, hey, I am a singer. You know, I think I really look up to pop music as well, and so to be able to show my voice in a more pop setting and a little bit more of a bare bones setting was really fun. And really, I think we took that, and it was a part of the evolution of our music going into Treehouse. You know, I think working on those records and hearing my voice in those, you know, with not a wall of sound, I suppose, was eye-opening as to what our potential really could be with future albums.
Absolutely, and it gives a new perspective on what, you know, is built up, and it gives a new insight, again, in terms of your creativity and the lyricism and themes you're exploring in a more stripped, raw setting, I guess.
Yeah, totally.
Absolutely. And in terms of the new record, is there sort of any tracks you want to share that you're really excited for people to hear? Is there any sort of tracks you're most proud of that's coming out?
I mean, this whole record really is. I feel it's my responsibility as an artist to, you know, write about not just my own personal experiences, but also like the times that we're living in.
Yeah, of course.
So I find myself really, falling back to that. But I feel like this record is a very good balance between things that I've dealt with. And things that are going on in the world, and kind of creating a world that we all are existing in, you know, and I guess trying to relate my pain to the pain that the world is experiencing, you know. So, I feel. What was the question? I want to make sure I answered you properly.
As he's going into this new track, what songs are you most looking forward to?
Right.
Sharing and delving into?
Yeah, there's a song on the record called "Float" that I really love.
Yeah.
To me, it's definitely more of a personal journey, but I was dealing with chronic pain for quite some time, and I was hospitalized for 6 months, and and it was a big part of the reason why we went away for a long time. And I had massive migraines for 2 years straight, and it wasn't until we found out what I was dealing with that I just kind of felt like my life was over, or my quality of life was over, and didn't really feel like I wanted to live anymore, and that's a very kind of real experience to go through, something that strips away, all of the distractions and all of the things that we are dealing with on a day-to-day, and really just kind of goes back to the core, which is like, being able to wake up in the morning pain-free. Not being able to experience that for so long was, to me, it really was a testament to how every morning you wake up pain-free is like a moment or a day worth living, I guess. And so Float is really just about being in the weeds, and feeling like I was just floating through life and not necessarily taking in or smelling the roses or seeing. Everything felt gray, everything felt, everything did not feel as it once was. And I didn't know that it ever would again. So every time I hear that song and I listen to the record, I get to that song, I do get really emotional. And there's another track on the record called Lost It that is almost like a back-to-back with that track, and it's I feel it's very much on the same journey. So when I listen to those two songs on the record, doesn't matter when, doesn't matter where or who I'm with, I get really emotional, and it's no bullshit. Like, it makes me cry every single time, and I think that's really exciting for me now, in hindsight, because to be able to listen to my own music and have it, I feel so connected to that version of myself still. I think that's that to me is what it's all about, and I hope fans, when they listen to that record, they get to those songs and they feel my pain, and I think they feel reinvigorated to live life and to not let the small stuff get to them, that life can always be worse, life can always, life has a way of breaking you down, and so it's a reminder, it's a reminder.
I think it's so important because that's what this scene is built upon. It's about real issues and what people are facing, and I think having that connection and your personal experiences resonating with audiences is so crucial, and that's what makes and that's what builds what's all around us today. Is we're all built on experiences, and be that for better or for worse, that's what connects us with the music that we will put out.
100%, yeah. And we never know what thing is gonna beat us down that bad. Everyone's version of pain is different. Everyone has a different threshold and different things that make us feel at our worst, so I hope that when people listen to our record, I guess at the very least, I hope they don't feel alone, because what we do is really great. We get to play on these stages, but the only thing that separates us is the stage. We're all going through the same thing, you know, not the same thing, but we feel the same feelings. We all feel pain. We all feel stress and anxiety. We all feel depression, you know, and I feel more connected with our fans when I hear that what they're going through, because that gives me an opportunity to share with them what I'm going through. And, you know, I think it humanizes us both, you know, and I like for my fans to think of me as a human being, you know, and I like to see them as a human being. I like when they share with me what they're dealing with, because up until that point, they only know what I'm dealing with through my music, you know. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like this record really does touch on a lot of things, and just really excited for it to be out, really excited for people to hear it.
And on that note of connection and the stage, etc., so we're on a slightly different tangent. You played Wembley last year, very, very big, massive stage, and next week you're playing Underworld, perhaps one of the smallest and most intricate venues you can play in London, perhaps the entire UK. How does that feel to be playing such an iconic venue, but also very intimate, where you can have that emotional core and real? I'm sure you must be quite excited to play some new tracks in such a setting where I feel that is going to translate.
Yeah, I live for the smaller venues, you know, and we were discussing booking some shows out here in between festivals. I advocated strongly for an intimate venue, because I feel like I'd rather play a small sold out show and connect with the fans, be able to look at them in the eyes, feel their energy, have them feel my energy, have them feel my pain, you know, up there, because revisiting some of these songs it is me revisiting the things I've been throughout the last 15 to 17 years of my life. So, you know, I feel it's hard for that to translate at some of these bigger shows. So I really feel the most present on stage at those shows, and I look forward to playing them. And I'm really honored that the London show is sold out, and I feel like it'll be a really good opportunity, especially after just playing Wembley. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
To be able to connect. And I think, you know, it's nice. It's the big venues are nice. The big venues are great. Of course. And there's nothing cooler than being able to say you played Wembley. But I felt so detached from the crowd that I didn't feel like I was able to connect in the way I wanted to. So I'm really looking forward to that. And I think that's where it starts. You know, I think when you're building roots and you're in these new places, and for us, I mean, a lot of fans have known of our music for a long time out here. So the one thing they don't know is our live show. So I want the opportunity to be able to connect. And so this feels like that. Yeah,
in such an intricate setting. I'm sure it's going to be, by the time this goes out, will be incredible. Let's be fair. It's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, well, I'll let you know next time we talk.
Absolutely. Please do. And what we like to do when we round into ourselves, we like to sort of ask a few sort of intimate questions, starting off with, could you tell us the story of the first show you went to growing up? What was the first show and the story behind that? I'd love to get your thoughts.
Yeah, well, the first show I ever went to was my dad's show. My dad's in a band, so I grew up watching him play. He was like in a doo-wop band, you know, playing Beach Boys and Beatles covers, and I think that to me was my introduction into live performance. But my first, I mean, there's a couple shows that stand out, and they feel like my first show, because it was the first time I've ever experienced certain things. Very first time I ever experienced a mosh pit was seeing Underoath at Warped Tour. I think it was like 2005. Somewhere between 2005 2007. But I got as close to the stage as I possibly could, because I am a huge fan, and I was so small, and I'll never forget the moment they got on stage, the entire crowd opened up. And I just was not ready for it. I had no idea what a mosh pit was. I got thrown to the ground, and I would have got trampled on if some, you know, responsible human being didn't come, pick me up, grab me, and drag me out of there, and was like, you cannot be there. And I was like, oh my God, like, this is what I want to do. I was like, I don't know what's happening. I was terrified, but looking around and seeing the energy, I was like, this is, especially going from like doo-wop, like Beach Boys, Beatles, and then seeing this, I was like, oh my God, this is the kind of energy I want to bring to the stage. And I always knew I wanted to be in a band. Me and my guys were playing music for a long time. We've been in the band since I was 11, but experiencing that, I was like, this is where it's at.
It's raw, it's visceral. And as it pulls you in, it literally spits you back out.
Yeah.
Which is what's fantastic about this entire scene and being here today.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. No, and that's, I think that's a big part of why a lot of us are here now and why we love it. It's an addiction.
Yeah, these festivals are important. You know, it's a lot of people here, they've never been to a rock show, so you know, they might be a little stiff, they might be a little shy, but you got to show them what it feels like to let go, you know, and I think that's the whole point of this, is people out here, they're letting go. They're leaving their issues, their problems at home, and they're coming out here to lose themselves in the music, and sometimes they need a little bit of a push, you know, literally. So that's our job. Yep.
And finally, you've been in the scene for a while now, but what is one thing that you hope or wish you saw changing within the scene, be it culturally, musically, one thing you wish changed?
I think that one thing I really love about Slam Dunk is, or I should say even just England, the UK, Europe, you know, is I see a lot less phones out here than I do in America. So I'd love to see people adopting that more and being more present. You know, you watch Woodstock videos and shit, you don't see phones out, and there's just something different about the energy in the crowd.
100%.
You know, it's about being present. It's not about, you know, proving that you were there. It's about being there, you know. So I really hope to see more of that. And I love seeing more cross-pollinating in genres at these festivals.
100%.
I think seeing hyperpop out here is really cool, and seeing a lot of, you know, genres blending together and people experimenting and being more raw and fearless with their writing and their music, and coming to these festivals and having the courage to play it live. Festivals inviting more artists like that to their shows is really great. I also really want to see ticket sales lower, or like the price of tickets.
Fair price.
Price of tickets need to be lower.
100%.
I just do not think that, you know, $400 to $800 for a ticket price to go see artists is. I don't think that's relatable.
Not so.
You know, so I think those would be the things I'd like to see change.
Every word I said, every word I said.